Few things are for sure in this life, but this is. If we live for any substantial amount of time, we will encounter grief due to the loss of a loved one. Not something any of us ever want, and we all handle it differently. This podcast is to feature those who have done purposeful and meaningful things through their grief. These people featured on here are normal folks, just like you and me, who were thrust into a place they never wanted to be in their lives. A painful place. As they move through their pain, they realize that something worthwhile, something for the greater good could come out of the unthinkable. I'm sure that none of them would ever consider themselves to be a hero, but when I searched the definition of the word hero, I found this: a person who is admired or idolized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. And that fit. And so it's my privilege to bring you the remarkable stories of these heroes in grief. Hi, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Heroes in Grief podcast, and the response has been incredible so far, and I want to thank you for that. It's getting out to people, and they're letting us know that it's helping them, and that is what it's all about. I want to make you aware of a way that you can support this podcast without having to spend 1 cent, and that is through affiliate marketing. I've set up affiliate marketing for online shopping. If you do online shopping, then I have links to all the major retailers, most of them anyways, and I can provide them for you so that when you buy online through those links, you'll help support the podcast through the percentages that we get. It doesn't cost you anything more. You just shop like you regularly would on the sites that you love. It's very easy. All you have to do is shop. And that's it. Just let me know the links to the places that you want to shop at, and I will provide the affiliate links so that you can do it. If you want more information on this, you can go to heroesandgrief.com. It takes you to the Linktree page where a video explains it in a little more detail. But you can always email me at tom@heroesandgrief.com, and I can answer questions for you. But you can support the podcast that way, and it's very easy, very simple, and it doesn't cost you a cent. Isn't that great? Thank you. Now here's today's episode. Okay, first question. You ready?
I am ready. And thank you. This is awesome to be talking with you, Tom.
You too. Thank you.
Great.
It's an honor. So I have listened to 3 or 4 different podcasts and things with you on it. And I'm not going to attempt to butcher your name. So I want you to please say your first name.
I know. I know my name is not the easiest. It's, the sound of G is like when you say house. So it's Ligia.
Ligia.
Perfect.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
And it's Hoban?
Yes.
Is your last name?
Yes. My husband is German.
Okay.
That's why the last name.
I like it. I'm a German as well. So there we go.
Wow, this is beautiful. Were you born in Germany?
No. Just heritage.
Heritage.
That's all.
Wow, that's beautiful. Sprichst du
Yeah.
Deutsch?
Hin und her,
No, my husband speaks...
I took 1 year of German. So actually in high school, we went over to Germany.
That's beautiful.
And so, I thought I'd be so cool and order, we could order beer while we were over there. This is a long time ago, folks. So, but our chaperones actually took us to the pubs, and we went to the pubs. And so I was ordering a beer in German. I felt so proud. I was, eine Bier bitte. And the waitress goes, "You'd like a beer?" In the straightest English you ever heard.
That's wonderful.
Just totally put me in my place.
That's wonderful. Are we already recording?
Yeah. We just roll along here.
So, we get so natural. Yeah, my husband, he's German. However, he speaks Spanish because I'm Hispanic. I'm from Nicaragua, and he speaks English. So, but I know some words. I like, I happen to like the language. So a little bit, yes, just a little.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
You have so much great work going on. We got to get to it, and I know we want to talk about your book. And see, now I took the thing down here. We got the title of the book. She's a brand new book out. Ligia, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Ligia, yes.
Ligia.
Yes.
All right. So I'm putting the emphasis on the wrong spot. Ligia Hoban is her name, and she has a great book out, and it's Allow Me to Live My Grief and Heal from the Inside Out. So we are going to focus on that today. You have a vast background in so many things to help grievers and things. You have 11 principles of helping the grief and the loss community and everything. So, whatever you want to touch on is great. Please share your story of whatever maybe brought you along on this path, and then the great things that you're doing. That's what this is all about, to feature the resources that we have available to us out there.
Thank you so much, Tom. First, for the opportunity. You're doing such a beautiful work yourself. So this is an honor to be talking with you. You're so natural and so open, talking. So that's beautiful as well. You
Thank
asked
you.
me how I entered this world to help the bereaved, the griever, based on my personal story. As I said, I'm from Nicaragua, and when I was 12 years old, I lost suddenly my beloved father, and I was very
Mm.
close to him. With three sisters, the youngest. I'm the youngest, and so it was extremely painful. When I lost him, and I went through the whole process. We're very very close family. Very together. In our family, we are Catholic. My mother was extremely religious, so that helped us a lot, and all that. Not back then. Then time went on. I was very cheerful girl, very cheerful, very joyful, and all that. So I continued, and then when I went into to the university, I studied at the University of Miami. I live in Miami, Florida, and something happened to me when I saw the name of a course. I was studying psychology, and then I did a major also in religious studies because I saw the name of this course that they offered that department, Death and Dying. When I
Mm.
saw that, I'm like, it was like a magnet. I'm like, I need to take this course. And I didn't know how. However, I ended up doing it against all odds because it was already filled up. But the professor who became my mentor, he said, well, if you're willing to sit on the floor, you can come in. I'm like, Dr. Sapp, I will sit on the floor. I need to take
Well,
this class. So bottom line, at the end, I ended up sitting on a chair. And when I took that course, Tom, every single day, because it was a 3 hours course, so it was weekly,
mm,
every single time I cried. I
uh,
cried. And then I came to realize that grief, first, I didn't know what grief was, and I was confronting death and dying. My country back then, no support groups, no, either going to counseling, nothing. And then I was like, oh my God, this is grief. I still have this in my heart, even though I was cheerful and happy and all that. But inside, when I confronted that word and what it is, then it touched me. And it was in that classroom that I realized how important it is to validate our grief, to be in touch with our grief really, you know. And then is when I made that commitment with myself. I said, no, this is what I want to do in life, to help others. So it was when I found my purpose in taking that class.
I like that emphasis, because so many will ask why, if I feel I'm getting by, in my strength and everything, then why should I go there? Why should I deal with that? What would you say to that?
Because it's the only way. When the only way to really live your grief, heal from the inside out. That's why I called my latest book that way, is to go through it. Do you remember, maybe you know about this saying of Winston Churchill? Paraphrasing maybe. He says, if you're going through hell, keep on going. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that he
Yep.
says because when we are there, it's so easy to put it on the shelf. It is so easy to go and have the drinks that makes you forget, or to go traveling, or to go diverting, always with people, working a lot. People become sometimes even workaholics because they just want to be distracted.
Yep.
However, Tom, grief follows us. It's like a shadow. So sometimes, that I have had clients come in here and say, I want to, let's say, not for grief. They want to do something, because I do grief and life transitions coaching. And they may say, Ligia, I want to achieve this certain goal, whatever it is. And I don't know that there's something that it's like I self sabotage, I get stuck and all that. And then when I listen to them, we do something. It's like an instrument, as we say, in my field. It's called history of losses. So I ask them to do a history of losses from where they are now, all the way back to the first loss they may remember, because it's not only death of a loved one. We go through so many losses in life. We are so resilient. We are more resilient than we think we are. So when we do that history, it's very common that there are losses that they have gone through that they never processed. And many times when it is a significant loss, especially with a loved one to death, that they are stuck there. They have not processed that, and it's there. And many times that prevents them to keep on going in life. So what we do is we process that grief, that loss, to validate it, process all that out. And then once they do that, it is so beautiful, because then, they release all that. They change the connection with their loved ones. Instead, from a place of suffering, they go to the place to honoring with love. And then, many times, what they want to do it to honor their loved one. So the changes are amazing. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, and also a person may not realize, because they may think, well, I'm tough. I can deal with that. And if it rises up, I just think about it and that's it and all over and everything. But aren't they missing a fulfillment in their life by being able to deal with it? And, it might be causing some issues in their life. It may be causing self-worth issues. It might be causing doubts issues. All different kinds of things could manifest in that, right? That could rise, that they don't even realize.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, because grief is expressed in so many facets in our lives, because we express and we manifest grief, not only the emotional aspect, being sad, angry, guilty, fearful, all those emotions that are so strong. It manifests also physically, in our health. So many times people develop these ailments, with health, high blood pressure, even diabetes, because of stress, and they stop taking care of themselves. So they suffer from insomnia. They may gain weight. They may lose weight. They may sleep a lot. So physically, it's manifested. Then the social aspect totally is affected, because sometimes, as I said before, many people get, all out and about, not wanting to be at home by themselves. Other people in the country, they get isolated. So it is expressed socially. And the other one is spiritually. And when I talk about spirituality, rather, it is not religion. If you happen to be religious, well, that's beautiful. That's part of. However, to make it broader, the ability to forgive, the ability of being grateful despite of, the ability of connecting with love, because love is the most powerful emotion. So all those areas are affected by grief, and we don't really pay attention to that, because even the way we work in our work, and you know how it is, Tom, that you go to work 3 days after you lost a loved one, and
Mm.
it's like wearing this mask, going back to full capacity of productivity. And we know many times it's not possible. The lack of concentration, the inability to really take care of huge projects. So all that happens. That's why my heart is so much into what we call grief at work, to really bring awareness, because a grieving employee is not a productive employee. So if we allow them to the space, and go through the process, so as we can see, it can be manifested in so many areas in our relationships, with our couple, with our partner, because we get impatient, we get irritable, and we may snap. And then it's that we're grieving. But because we don't talk about it, the other person may not know that you reacted that way because you are in pain. We may react that way with our children. So, so many things.
Yeah, I think that too. That we're talking about someone who may not even realize it, but they're missing the potential of fulfillment of the real things that matter in our lives, and they may not be recognizing that. So, because I always think myself too, how do I defend that sometimes where people, well, I don't need to deal with it. If it just comes up, then I'll deal with it. And I'm like, no, you do have to deal with it because, and you're helping me to get a better foundation under that because it'll creep through, it'll linger through somehow in all of those elements of our life that matter in our lives.
That's beautiful,
And
the word that you used, that matter. And to give us that purpose, because sometimes people think that if they open their hearts and they allow grief to come out, that they're going to crumble, and
mhm,
then they will not be able to live on purpose and meaning. And we know that it's totally the opposite, because and if we are able to find even meaning in what happened to us, just what Viktor Frankl talked about, finding meaning, that can shift totally the way we see life, the way we see the world. So it's it's what we call in my field grief work, and it is so powerful. Yeah.
it is. Yeah. Thank you for all you do. That's so we were at the point of in your schooling, you realized this. What transpired from there after you took the course?
Yes. So when I came to that realization, as I said, my professor became my mentor. I love him dearly. And then my other area of passion as well is gerontology, study of aging. And we were like so close with that. The My professor was also in that field. So that's why I call life transitions, because we know transition with aging, not only ourselves, but taking care of our aging parents, which is so precious, and it's so important to talk about that. So I
Hmm.
developed my studies. I did a graduate program in loss and healing at the University of St. Thomas here in Miami. I also did a master's in religious studies and gerontology. I became a thanatologist, which is someone specialized in death and dying, because thanatos, Thanatos, is death in Greek. So I also, became a thanatologist and all these different studies. And then I also I did a master's in positive psychology, because my intention in helping the griever is, yes, to validate your grief, to process it, to live it, to be mindful of this, and then to know that life continues. Because life continues. Sometimes we wished, when we are in that huge pain, that acute stage of pain, that life kind of stopped. It doesn't. It continues.
Yeah.
So my purpose is, at the same time, that helping with healing and validating, at the same time help the griever with tools and strategies to continue embracing life again, because it makes a difference how we see life after. Sometimes we become even a better version of ourselves after we face a huge loss.
Hmm. I would agree with that. I think that that's transpiring in me, actually.
Yes.
It's a work in progress. I've got a long way to go, but some of the things that I feel that are changing in me are good things. So
Um,
um, I encourage people all the time to question their counselors, because it's only now that grief is starting to be a required course in university studies for counselors and therapists and things, and your background along with life experience is very valuable. And I think that everybody should ask and question the people that they're seeking help from to see that, because sometimes it might not even be a paid therapist or something. It could be a peer-to-peer person that is effective for you. And so just seek that out. But you certainly have the background through both to have a well-rounded approach for people, and you put that into practice a little bit. I know that, and we want to get to the book, and we will. Did you want to talk about any of the other things that you're doing that are on your site and thing? You've got the 11. What do you call them? The 11.
11 principles. The 11
11
principles of
principles.
transformation. They are so dear in my heart. And I will share the story, how they came to be. Because, well, after, I took that class and all that. And as I said, my father, he was so loved. We loved him a lot. My mom did an amazing, amazing work in keeping his memory alive. And he was very well known in my country. He was a self-made man and he was a philanthropist. So it's my father, yes, but it is true. My country, they even remember him after 50 years, that he died because he was really good. And
A
then
good man.
my mom came one day to me and she's like, if I wanted to write a book about his life, because I had written my first book based on my studies in gerontology and religion at the university. I did a thesis on the impact of religion, in this case, the symbol, the Virgin Mary, be it Catholic, and the impact as we age. So how it is, the hypothesis was that you grow more religious as you grow older and all that. So I loved the thesis so much that I made it a book, and then my mom, of course, you know how it is. Once you write something, then you can continue writing. So she's like, she used to call me Lijita. Lijita, she said, you should write a book about your father's story. And then I'm like, yes, mommy, you know what? I'm going to start doing it. So I started writing. However, the book that came to be was dedicated to his memory. Eventually, later in life, I wrote this book, this biography. However, back then, I wrote Transform Your Loss, Your Guide to Strength and Hope. I wrote it in Spanish and then it was translated to English. And because I wanted to share my story. And it contains 60 real stories of losses. Half of them are stories, because the death of a loved one. However, I also talk about loss of pets, loss of a homeland, for immigrants, loss of health, divorce. So I have different losses, no? And I talk about what losses are, how grief is manifested, and all that. And then I said, "Oh, but I want to give the reader something. I want to give them tools to help them." And I started writing, and then the principles came to be 11. And I didn't say they're going to be 11. No, I started writing them, not handwritten, no, not on the computer, writing. And then I stopped, this is it. And I counted them. And when I counted them, I was like, I was so touched. And I'll tell you why. Because my father died on 11/11. He died on November 11th. So, and the book was dedicated to his memory. It is, dedicated. So it for me was so beautiful. You know how it is, what we believe, where our hearts are is. So I'm like, oh my God, how beautiful. So I introduced the principles in that book. And out of that, I have done, seminars, workshops, having support groups using the principles. I offer it also as an online program, self-paced. Right now, I'm going to do it later as a 3 months program with me. But right now, it's self-paced, English and Spanish, and they're registered. My heart is in the principles. It's my creation, my methodology, and so it's amazing because 5 years ago, I lost my mom. My mom was my father and mother for 48 years after my father died. She died, as I said, 5 years ago, and she was a centenarian. She died. I
Oh,
know, she was adorable,
fantastic.
Tom. She was the cutest thing and the sweetest thing. And she died 2 months before 101. So when she died, I was extremely close to her, super close to her. And it was extremely painful, super painful to lose my mom because talking about purpose, that's why I loved when you mentioned that. Because my mother, besides my mother, I was her caretaker because she was old. Of course, I have someone to help me out because I work full time. However, I did everything for her. And she was the center of my life. She was the center. I love my work and I love, my family, my husband, my daughter, but my mom was my center because I took care of her. She needed me, period, no? And even if she would haven't needed me, I would have done it anyway. And
Mhm.
so the bond was extremely close. So when she died, it was super hard, super hard. And I faced challenges, and I will share with you and with your beautiful public the two challenges I faced when, besides going through the pain, no, of not having her physically.
Hello, friends. I just wanted to take a brief break here in the podcast to make you aware of a very exciting partnership that Heroes in Grief has just formed, and that is with Get Griefy magazine. I'm going to let their founder and editor-in-chief, Kara Sanchez, tell you all about it.
Hey, Heroes and Grief listeners! Life after loss isn't easy, but it can be colorful and full of possibilities. Meet Get Griefy magazine, a vibrant resource filled with inspiring stories of life after loss, expert advice, and voices from everyday grievers and thought leaders. Together, they're here to help guide you toward the side of life that's left to be lived fully and authentically. Dive into Get Griefy for free on issue or snag a print copy on Amazon. Connect with us on Instagram at Get Griefy Magazine or visit getgriefymagazine.com to explore, join our thriving small business collective, or discover advertising opportunities. Let's embrace life after loss, boldly and together.
And now back to our episode.
With me, because spiritually she's always in my heart. That's right, my dad. And two things. One, I'll tell you the story. I was getting back, into the building because my mom died just in, not of COVID, of old age, but in COVID times, in
Mhm.
2020, June 2020. And when I was coming back, to my office, I have a center here in South Miami, and the building, a lady, very nice with me always. And, hello, how are you? Haven't seen you and all that. I'm like, well, did you get COVID? She said. And I said, no, 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 I didn't, get COVID. It's just that my mom died. I said, she was so compassionate, oh my God, super compassionate. And then I said, my beloved centenarian. When I said that, Tom, the woman, always with love and good intention, but she changed. She's like, but you should be happy. You should be happy. She was a
Mhm.
centenarian. And I understood what she meant. And I told her, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Yes, I'm so thankful to God that I had my mom for so long. Still, she was my constant. And the void, I said, the void. So I had that reaction so often. But she was centenarian. You shouldn't be sad. You shouldn't cry. The whole thing, no? So, and the other one was that about maybe 2 weeks after my mother had died, a lady called me up, and she's like, oh my God, I knew, that your mom died. And how are you feeling? She asked. And I said, terrible. And she's like, terrible. But, but you're the expert in grief, she said. And again, good intention, because I believe that people are good. That's my belief. And
Yeah.
she's like, pero Ligia, what about your principles? She said, what about your principles? And I'm like, exactly. I said, do you remember? Because she had attended one of my seminars. And not only her, I had two or three people saying exactly what she said, very similar. And they had also attended my seminar. And I said, remember that you attended the seminars? And they said, yeah, yeah, I remember. I said, well, do you remember the second principle? Principle two is live your grief. I
Mhm.
said, I am living my grief. And that was the other challenge I had. being quote unquote an expert in grief. I was not supposed to be sad. I was not supposed. And I'm like, well, do you know what? I have the right. And just as my clients, because I've heard for so many years, the book came out in 2007 in Spanish first, and then in 2009 in English. But for so many years, I've heard my clients saying, Ligia, they don't allow me to cry. Ligia, they don't want me to talk about my loved one. Ligia, so, and with good intention, family members, they don't want you to be sad. Your friends, they don't want you to be sad. So they want to remove you from the sad place. And sometimes
Mm.
people themselves, they don't give themselves permission to grieve. That's why I chose that title, my latest book. Allow me to live my grief and heal from the inside out. Because it is living our grief and being present to our grief that we can really heal. Not wearing the mask, but being in touch with our hearts and healing.
Mm. Yeah, I'm practicing patience
Um,
with people because of I have a hard time just with people who just seem to not have common sense, and you find out in this grief world, of course, that those misconceptions in so many ways, and nobody's immune. We all know that, of course, but perhaps it comes from the stigma of grief in society where it's not, um, not discussed properly and everything else, where people get these ideas. But it seems so absurd, of course, to us. But yeah, we're really going to grieve still. I worked in hospice. I was a hospice
oh,
spiritual care
oh,
director. I was a pastor in the past for 15 years,
that's
and
beautiful.
I had tools and things. I worked ambulance. I was a critical incident stress debriefing counselor. You know, None of that mattered when my son died. None, nothing. Um, so it's just, yeah, it's sometimes I gotta kind of be patient and understanding with people
Yeah,
because no, I mean, we're all going to grieve. We have real grief, and we go through the process as anybody else does. And so, yeah, we're all in this together. It brings you down to ground zero of with everybody. We all share this and share that experience. And so, that if people would understand that more, then I think everybody would be better off. That's for sure.
yeah, that's, yeah. My heart is with you, Tom. And it's
And you, thank you.
absolutely. And, something that I hear a lot when I have because the principals, I also do it here at the center as an 8-week program and the 8 weeks. So what I hear from people when we talk about, these comments that we hear and people lacking sensitivity, as you say, some people don't have patience with that. Some other people stay quiet. And, but what I hear the most, a comment that they make is people don't get it. They
Mhm.
don't get it until they lose a loved one, until they lose
Until they get it.
yes, yes, until they lose a significant person, then they get it. And sometimes they
Yeah.
even apologize, for not understanding before.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you too how precious with your mom. My mom, I'm the youngest in my family of 7 kids, and so I spent the longest with my mom. She passed in 21,
Mm.
and she was 95.
Ah,
So and I treasure the 60 some years of being with my mom. It was tremendous for sure, but it doesn't diminish the grief, that's for sure. So yeah, those comments could come, and I say them more than anybody else probably now, where I say I had 60 some wonderful years with my mom. So I look at it that way now.
mm-hmm.
I don't know how I would have reacted in the beginning, although you know it's a little more in the natural process when an older person passes,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
kind of in what people would consider the right sequence.
No, it is
But
true. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a natural cycle, life cycle,
yeah. So the book, what comes from you? What came out of you into this book?
What came out of me in that book? It's it's so open, it's so raw, and I'll share this with you. Because the thing is that I when I was going through the process with my mom was in hospice because she was frail, she was so frail at the end. So, and I would journal, and all those things. And so when I wrote it in Spanish first, and then I recorded it as an audiobook 2 years after, it was last year, 2 years after that I had published it, I was recording the book. And when I was at the studio, I started reading because I wanted to read it. No, I started reading it, and then I stopped, and the producer is like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Wow," I said. No, I was not crying. I was just astonished. I'm like, "Marlo," I said, that's his name, Marlo. Marlo, I said, "I am so wrong in this book. I am
Hmm.
so open. I'm showing myself so vulnerable in this book." And she's like, "Do you want to, he's like, "Do you want to stop recording?" I'm like, "No. On the contrary," I said, "I really want to do this more than ever because I was so wrong." And what I wanted to do was I shared my story. I mean, I shared when she died, when they took her, to the funeral home, and how I was, because I even have a chapter that says, "Are we really prepared?" Because intellectually we can be prepared. I was prepared in the sense of intellectually. She's 100, she's in hospice, the whole thing. However, the moment it happened, and that pain huge inside of me, that void suddenly like that, no one prepared me for that. So
Mm.
it's that, that sense I was really prepared. And the other one was like at the beginning, I remember the day after, everything felt so real. It was so surreal. It was like living in two worlds. I remember. So I
Yeah.
talk about all that, and I told him, "Do you know what? My purpose in writing the book was different purposes: to honor her, to honor my love for her, the amazing mother she was, to to present myself as raw as I could, as human as I could, because it's not Ligia here, the grief professional. No, it's Ligia, the human, the daughter who's bereaved and is feeling, and it's okay to feel." So the other, and very important for the reader, to feel validated, accompanied, and that they can use strategies, because I give a lot of ideas, a lot of questionnaires, a lot of things that can help them in their own process. I wanted the person who was reading the book to feel like, "Hi, Ligia is with me. So she's talking to me. I understand that. I feel that way." That's what I wanted to do with the book. And when I was recording it, it's when it really came to me because I'm reading it, I'm listening to myself. And I loved doing that. The process was so spiritual, Tom. It was so profound. I felt so connected with my mom when I was recording the book in a beautiful way. So, yes, but that was the intention. Several intentions were when I was read by the book.
That's amazing. I'm feeling that when you're saying it, like that digging within and pulling that out and to, you know, you're speaking it, you're hearing it, you're involving other senses, and it's coming at you in a whole different manner. And you're able to, internalize it better and process it better through that and everything. I can sense that in you talking about it that way and everything. That's tremendous. It really is. I just had an opportunity to write a chapter in an anthology
Uh,
uh, about the story too. And I experienced that to some degree. I can't say to that depth because I felt it deeper even as you were talking about it and imagining that, because I'm a music guy and I wear headphones, and I know being in,
Oh,
you're almost in your own little world. And
uh-huh.
then, but yeah, so it comes through in a different way and everything. And yeah, that's tremendous. That's great.
Thank you.
So the book, it's out now, right?
Yes, the book came out last year, at the end of last year, and I am so glad, so happy with it, because people, of course, even Hispanics, they will say, Ligia, when is it coming in English? Because even there are Hispanics that speak Spanish, because many people, including myself, I love to read in English as well. So they were asking, for the book in English, and I presented it in January this year, and at Books and Books. Books and Books is a very well-known bookstore here in Miami. It was in Coral Gables. It is such a beautiful place. I have presented all my books actually there. So it was such an amazing experience. I have it, I have a YouTube channel. I have the presentation there. They recorded it, and I was so happy. I was so happy. I was able to present it, and I invited someone very dear to my heart. He lost his daughter, a client of mine, and he gave his testimonial. He talked about it. He gave me because that book, yeah, the book has 15 stories, 15. So he gave me his story in the book. That's why I invited him. I say, do you want to talk? And I love this
Mhm.
man. He's pure love, pure service. It's amazing. And so it was an experience from heart to heart. So that's what I like to do, because we connect from heart to heart. As I said at the beginning, love is the most powerful emotion. And as I say to people, like, we come, yeah, the book is about grief. And we're grieving because we love so much. Because our capacity to love is so huge. That's why we grieve so profoundly. And then it's when we want to go to that place, it's like two sides of the coin. There's grief and there's love, and we want to go through the process of grief, and then we go into love, knowing that, because love is eternal. Love never ends, actually never. The love of my father still, and I said this because I have his picture here at my office, and it never ends. Grief, those moments, those longing, those moments that come up, and you may know this. Sometimes they're like a tsunami, that they appear suddenly. Sometimes they're like small waves, but it's there. They come because, as Dr. Rosenblatt says, grief is recurrent. So it is the moment that we learn how to live with grief, not being afraid, but being part of our human experience. We learn how to develop this relationship with that part of us that is grieving, when we remember, because I love so much, I'm grieving so much. Yeah.
Yeah, your passion, you very seem very approachable and understanding, and that's what we were referring to before about the clinicians out there who maybe don't have the experience or the knowledge base in the grief world, that it can make such a difference. And you come across very inviting for anybody because of your understanding of things,
Thank you.
and it makes a huge difference
Comes from my
for sure.
heart.
Uh, what's on your agenda?
My agenda. Well, I want to share actually that I also have a podcast. It's only audio, until now, it's only audio, and I'm super excited because I recorded number 110. So I was
Oh,
so,
wow.
yes, because you know what? I'm so glad that I have been able to keep the consistency, because I started, because it's like 3 years. I started after my mom died. And at that time, I was taking care of my oldest sister. She died of cancer. and I was also her caretaker. And I told my sister, we're three sisters, super close. And then it was a challenge, when I was taking care of her, especially those, hard moments at the end and all that, if I was going to be able to keep on with the podcast. And I did. Really, and I did. So I am so glad because what I do that podcast, they are short messages between 6 to 15 minutes, give and take, and different topics about grief. And it is bilingual. I have it in English and Spanish, the same exact message. So it's like with the different titles. So based on what you need to hear at that moment, you go and you choose the topic and then it's there. So I wanted for people again to feel validated and accompanied.
Yep. And the name of the podcast is?
Yes, it's, as I said, bilingual, Transformando el Duelo, Transforming Grief. So you enter
Okay.
Transforming Grief and it comes up. It's in Spotify, Apple Music, all those audio platforms. Yeah,
I always encourage everybody go over there right now and subscribe so that you'll be alerted when the next one comes out, and go check out all the old ones too
great. Thank you.
and go through.
Appreciate that.
That's great. They're nice bite-size
Uh-huh.
little portions for people, not overwhelming. They can go to the needs that they have according to what's on there, and pick what they might need that day.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. So that's happening. Anything else?
Well, I'm going to present the book in Spanish at the public library this June 11th. I am super, super touched by that because my mom's anniversary is on June 7th. So it's very close to that. So that is going to be a
Mm.
beautiful experience. And I am preparing the program, as I said to you, to do the online program as a 3 months program with me. So I am working on that to have it available in about 3 months. Because what I want to do is, the people can have the go to the platform where it is self-paced and they have all the material, but I will be with them an hour and a half every week. So going over, you know, what losses are, how grief is manifested, very much like what we talked now, but expanded. And then because talk about complicated grief and prolonged grief and disenfranchised grief and all those types of grief. And then the following weeks, the 11, following weeks, so a week, a principle per week. So I want to do that because if they have questions and all that, to connect with people. So I need to prepare the whole thing, Tom, like the webinar and all that, like to bring the awareness, because that is the part that we go to, to create the awareness and let people know that that resource is there. Because in my heart, it's to for people to know if they're going through a loss, oh, that system, that methodology, that guide, if you will, of the 11 principles of transformation can help you. So that's what I want to do. It's like creating this movement, if you will, that so people know that they have this and not saying that grief is the same to everybody. It is not. It's very unique and we have our own process. However, there are some again neither to this no, you take what you want. And because the thing is that the first two principles I believe are applicable to all of us. The first one is, and it is a challenge, I understand by itself it's a process. The first one is accept your loss, like accept this is the reality, this happened, it is painful and horrible, yes, still it happened. So that would be the first one. And then the second is live your grief. So it is not that because you accept it, you say, oh, okay, then I'll forget about it. No,
Hmm.
you accept it as part of your reality now. Then what are you going to do about it? So live your grief. So those two, I would say, are the foundation. And then the other ones, you add them. It's about the third one is develop your spiritual dimension, gratitude, forgiveness, and love. The fourth, express your feelings, getting rid of that mask, but expressing how we feel. The fifth is share with others because we are not an island. So it's beautiful, the support. The sixth one is take care of yourself because many times it happens that when facing a huge loss, we don't want to take care of ourselves, So that's number six. Number seven, doing rituals, doing things that help you express all that, that you have inside. Number eight is live the now, basically mindfulness. However, back then when I created them, we didn't use much mindfulness. So live the now instead of dwelling in the past or worrying the future. Live the moment because it is the only thing we have for sure this moment. Then number ninth is modify your thoughts. I greatly believe in the power of our thoughts. I greatly believe in that. So I talk about that a lot. Number 10th is after all these things and all the pain and all the process, then we start rebuilding our world. So it's rebuild your world. And number 11th is visualize the life you want because we can do it. We can create the life we want because we are the architect of our own destiny.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I see the first couple as would be the most challenging, I think. And then you kind of break through the saran wrap and you can, kind of approach the other things then. But those two are pretty difficult. Yeah. So, yeah, challenging. Beautiful. Thank you for everything. Is there anything else that maybe we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about?
No, thank you. I greatly appreciate, your openness in talking about all this and giving me the opportunity to share my passion with you and, with those amazing people that listen to you, your public. And that, I am in social media. I am Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. I have the YouTube channel, Ligia Juven. I want to start being more present in that channel, doing more videos, and eventually I'll be following your steps, Tom, having guests. And when I do that, I'll be more than happy to invite you. So I'll let you know.
Oh, well, thank you.
That would be so beautiful to have you on the other side.
Thank you. If you need any assistance in any of that, please let me know. I'm pretty good with all of that kind of stuff. So
thank you.
I'd be happy to help you.
That. Yeah, you said that you have a musical background.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we will have links to everything in the show notes so that everybody knows, like I always say. So everything, they'll be able to find you right there so they can contact you and everything. So I would encourage them to do so.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you so much. It has been very special time shared with you. I commend you for what you do to bring this message to others. My heart is with you for your mission, and I hope to talk with you in a near future.
I echo every one of those sentiments. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Heroes in Grief podcast. If you'd like access to any of the links that we discussed in today's show, you can find them in the show notes. There's also a link there to support the podcast if you care to. And there is an email link for me there. I'd love to hear from you and your ideas about the show or what you thought about the show. You really can help out this podcast to get to more people if you subscribe, rate, or review it in whichever way your platform provides. Each week, Heroes in Grief is released on Sunday, so look for new episodes there. Thank you again for listening to Heroes in Grief.